President Trump on Monday said his 2-hour phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin went very well, saying that both Russia and Ukraine will immediately start negotiations on ending the war. He informed Ukrainian President Zelensky and other European allies of this immediately after the talk with Putin. But Putin's messaging seemed to conflict with that a bit, saying that, well, he will start. They said they're ready to work on a memorandum, meaning, we'll start working on talking about stuff. Doesn't seem that Putin's too eager to end this war. Joining me now to discuss this, Congressman Greg Murphy, who serves as a member of the House Ways and Means Committee. He represents the 3rd Congressional District of North Carolina. Dr. Murphy, welcome back to Washington Watch. I know you're on the House floor. Thanks for stepping off to talk to us.
Absolutely. Good afternoon, Tony.
So what do you make of President Trump's announcement? How optimistic are you that peace between Russia and Ukraine is imminent and attainable?
I think it's obtainable, Tony. Whether it's imminent or not remains to be seen. You're dealing with a bloodthirsty despot who really feels no remorse in sending his countrymen into a sawmill to kill them for what gain is beyond me. But also on the other side, you have a leader of a country formerly really corrupt, hopefully really has turned the corner, that doesn't want to see his country dismantled by a foreign invader. I think Zelensky is a lot more amenable to trying to get the war done or with the war finished than Putin has reasons to want to end the war. There's really no reason for Putin to want to end the war. He's isolated his economy enough, and sadly enough, I don't think he values human life whatsoever.
Well, President Zelensky says Putin is only trying to buy time with these negotiations to continue the war in Ukraine. I tend to agree with that. And I think, my take, Putin really kind of gets a bounce by having a conversation with President Trump. I think that raises his stature, as he's been a kind of a pariah out there.
Yeah, it does, because, look, some people don't like Trump, but my gosh, he's on top of the world right now. He's just in Saudi Arabia. He got trillions of dollars in a trade deal with them. The world understands strength, in contrast to the absolute just failure of the last administration. So him having any relation whatsoever with President Trump sure does elevate his status compared to anything with Biden. So.
Right. Well, we also have to, history matters when we look at these things. When Putin is trying to rebuild the Russian Empire, like Stalin
Sure.
did in post-World War II Russia. They are looking at this as an opportunity in their future. They're looking at it much differently than we are. They have a different system. And oftentimes our foreign policy seems to miss that.
Yeah, I agree. They're much more of a dictatorship, monolithic, czarist, if you will, society, in that one person has central control and Mother Russia should dominate. But, that's not the worldview. That's not what happened. That's not why the United States is the leader of the free world. We have other countries, such as China, that there's really essentially a single leader, although there's a quote, party that leads the country. This is not what democracy is all about. And sadly enough, I think the average Russian doesn't know the difference and just suffers every day in a very miserable, dreary life. But that's okay with Putin. He really doesn't care. This is a personal thing with him. It's about glory and, trying to, as you point out, trying to get Russia back to the status of the great Lenin and Stalin.
One of the very practical things we could do on a domestic front that will have implications here, and it's being done, and I'd like to get an update from you on where it stands, is reviving our own energy production, because as we go back to being an exporter of energy, we're going to drive down Russia's revenue stream that they're getting through selling their oil.
Sure. If you look at what, Tony, the one issue, the one article, the one program that controls pretty much everything, it's energy these days. How can you run your mills? How can you go out and put your crops in the field? How can you harvest them? How can you make anything? How can you get from A to B? It's all about energy. And with the Biden administration, they just wanted to float these insane ideas and destroy American energy dominance. Look at, Biden, even though he didn't remember it, wanted to just destroy American liquid natural gas, giving it all to Russia to let them become preeminent. But, finally, it's great to have President Trump back on top, really reasserting American dominance for this. And by definition, when we do this, we weaken some of the other countries. And fortunately, Russia is one of them.
Right. Not to get too deeply into this, but I was just talking with one of your colleagues, Andrew Clyde, about the Green New Deal that's in the reconciliation to pull out that subsidies for these green energy projects, which runs counter to becoming a energy excess producer, where we're actually exporting, which we were doing at the end of the last Trump administration.
Well, one thing, Tony, I think you have to be a little careful at this. I'm a huge fan of nuclear. That is the future of this country. And if we pull the rug out under helping nuclear get started, we cut our throats to do this. We cut our nose to spite our face. So I think I'm a little bit more, I want to put a little more scrutiny in this than really just slashing.
How much funding is in for nuclear in the New Deal and the Green Deal?
Well, Tony, I can't give you an exact number. The runway that we've allowed is through 2031. But it takes a decade for nuclear to do these things. It doesn't take as long for solar or anything else like that. So we have to actually be a little bit judicious in what we're doing. I think a few people have decided they just want to be naysayers and pick little pieces out of the BBB, as it were. But we got to be smart. Yeah. We actually have to use our brains when doing this.
I don't disagree with nuclear. I think the wind and solar that's having to be subsidized to get people into that industry, I think is proven to be kind of a loser. Not that I'm against some of it, but I just think we know what works, and what we need right now is energy production.
Right.
Dr. Murphy, out of time. Thanks for stepping off the floor to talk with us, and always good to talk with you.
All right. Thank you, Tony. God bless.
All right. Dr. Greg Murphy of North Carolina.